This is the No Excuses Coaching Podcast with Ryan Montes and Alana Banks, where we discuss the mindset, the attitude, and the strategies of elite coaching. Hey, Ryan.
Hey.
Let's talk about myths about the coaching industry.
No.
Are you sure?
No, I guess we can talk about that. Myths of the coaching industry. Yeah, there's lots.
There's a
Yeah.
lot, and you found a really cool list. And I honestly don't think I've ever heard any of these myths before. So it's kind of cool because I think there are these common myths that we often hear, but this is kind of like an obscure list.
I mean, I read through the list and none of these are new to me. I've definitely heard all of these personally before, but that's good. Like if you have not been confronted with these myths before, then maybe they're starting to die out a little bit. But this is definitely stuff that I've heard
Mm.
in the past.
Yeah, maybe there's a couple in here that I've heard, but I think, you know what? Some of these were actually in my own subconscious, and I don't think I've ever heard them, but as I was reading, like coaching is for girls. We'll get to that one.
Yeah.
But that's something that I have definitely heard before, but I think is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, let's dive into this list.
Number one on the list, by the way, hi listeners, hi everybody, welcome. Today's going to be a good one. Myths are fun. There's so many myths. We could probably do another episode about the myths of hypnosis. That would be a good episode too. But
That would be.
yeah. Okay. Myth number one in coaching. And this is from Forbes, by the way. This article we're looking at called Busting the Top 5 Myths About the Coaching Industry. Coaching industry, by the way, is an excess of $1 billion a year industry. Number one, coaches are basically therapists, but with fewer academic degrees. That's one of the myths that Forbes outlines here. Coaches are basically therapists, but with fewer academic degrees. That's an interesting one. I think a lot of people, especially the further you get from the coaching industry, the more likely a person is to believe this to be true. But when you're in it and you're either a coaching client or a coach, you'll come to realize this is not true. A coach and a therapist do very different things. Very different things. Is there some crossover? And are there coaches who, here's where the confusion I think happens. Are there coaches who guide their clients in a way that for the client could feel therapeutic?
Yeah.
In that they get some kind of relief from the process? Sure, absolutely. I mean, in the same way that a conversation with a good friend could feel therapeutic, or reading a good book could feel therapeutic, or going on vacation could feel therapeutic. That does not mean that your tour guide, down at Sandals Resort in Jamaica is a therapist just because it feels therapeutic, to be laying on the beach or walking through ancient ruins or whatever. Likewise, a coach and a therapist, two different things, even if the coaching process could feel therapeutic. Mm-hmm. Thoughts on that one, Alana?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you there. It's, in this list here, it specifically says coaching focuses on shaping the future. And I think it's a do with process. When you're working with a therapist, you're often doing a lot of the talking, and they're kind of just listening to you and offering their own advice or whatever it is. But when it comes to coaching, it's really kind of like you're working together, right? Like you're working alongside each other. You're holding the client accountable for specific actions that they might want to be taking, giving them homework. And of course, you're going to have certain things that are therapeutic as part of it. Like, I often tell people that the hypnosis portion of my coaching is the therapeutic part, right? Or any NLP processes that we might go through or different things like that. So it's really, you're not a therapist at all. And I think this is like such a huge misconception, especially if you are a coach or a new coach going into it. That also might be a bit of a limiting belief too, because people are going to be like, well, you don't have a psychology degree. Well, you don't really need to have a psychology degree to become a coach because you're not a therapist.
Yeah. I mean, and also the word therapist is a little bit vague. If I had written this article, I probably would have written this coaches, the myth would be coaches are psychotherapists with fewer academic degrees. That would be the myth, because therapist is a very broad, vague
Yeah.
term, which also doesn't really necessarily have a standard definition in many jurisdictions. Who is and who is not a therapist, what are and are not the duties of a therapist. Whereas psychotherapist, it has a very universal, almost standardized definition.
Yeah.
But I think people get the idea. Our following and the readers of this article are intelligent enough to know what is implied by the word therapist in this context. And somebody who needs psychotherapy, which is to say somebody who has a diagnosed mental problem or challenge or disorder, should go to a licensed healthcare practitioner like a psychotherapist or doctor, right?
Yeah.
If somebody's looking to, change their perspective and way of thinking and behavior and get different results, now we're talking about coaching, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Two different ballgames.
Yeah. I think the bottom line is if you're entering a coaching relationship, you want to change, or you want to get better at something, or you want to achieve a specific thing. When you're working with a psychotherapist, oftentimes you might have to go to that psychotherapist, and it's not, you're not choosing. So it's like, to me, it's like totally different. Like, just think about basketball. When I think about coaching, I think of like basketball, right? Yeah. Like, you have a coach to make you a better basketball player, to help you with different plays and, strategies on the court, and, how to develop your mindset so that you can stay in the game and not get bogged down by losing. Like, that's coaching.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have like a big leather sofa laid out at the side of the basketball arena, exactly. The players to lay down and talk about their childhood.
Feelings. Yeah.
Their feelings. Yeah. Although you may, with a coach, talk about your feelings, the context is different.
Exactly.
Cool. Yeah. I think we got that one.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got that one.
Check mark.
Yeah. So coaches, therapists, different things. Yeah. A couple of years ago, I watched this video recorded by Eben Pagan, and he's a coach trainer. He has a program called The Virtual Coach. And he was talking about the difference between a coach, a consultant, a therapist, and a few other titles that people generally, get confused. And it was quite a, good little reminder that there's very different duties, very different expectations, and very different results depending on which person you're working with. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Myth number 2. This is a good one. This is one that people ask me about this. Routinely. Mm-hmm. And the myth here is coaching is for girls. Coaching is for girls. The coaching industry, I guess, which is implied here, is for girls. And the question that I get is, why are there so many women in the coaching industry, relative to men? Why are there so many women taking hypnosis training, et cetera, et cetera? I mean, my most honest answer is, I don't know. I've noticed that also. There are more women in this industry, perhaps, or at least they're more visible than the men.
Yeah.
Which is not to say that there's no men. There's, like, I'm a man, for example, and there's plenty of men in NLP and hypnosis and coaching. Plenty. But maybe, and again, I don't have the statistics, maybe if we had the statistics, there would be more overall women in coaching, both on the client side and the practitioner side. But that's not the myth. The myth says coaching is for girls, and that's not true. Coaching is for everybody who wants better results.
Yeah. I think there's just a preconceived notion, too, in our society that women are more nurturing, more open to talking about feelings, more like interested in helping, right? And men aren't. So therefore, we make this sort of blanket belief that coaching's for girls. Or I love how they say girls too, like not women, but what does that mean?
Yeah. Well, that's a whole other question as well.
That's a whole other question. But yeah, I think honestly, this is just like a societal thing too, where, people think that women are just kind of more into helping and nurturing and improving other people's lives and talking about feelings than men are. And so therefore they make the assumption that coaching is for women.
Yeah. But yeah, that's obviously not true. That's why it's on the list of myths. Coaching is for everybody. Being a coach is for everybody. Receiving coaching is for everybody who wants coaching.
Yeah. And I would argue, like, to be honest, we need more men in the coaching industry. We also need more men being coached by men. I think that is like really, really important. You know, I don't know statistics on this, but I mean, I do lots of reading, and I know that there's a lot of men out there who are struggling because they've grown up in a society that is like, you need to be the tough guy. You don't have emotions, you know, boys don't cry kind of mentality. And, you know, men are emotional. Men have feelings. Men need to be nurtured and, you know, coached and held. They really do need to be held. And we don't have enough of that in our society. And so if there are men listening and you're considering coaching, get into it. And like, there are tons of men's groups out there. They're just not as prolific as the goddess circle kind of vibes that you're seeing, you know, among the women, because we're more open about it. But men need this type of work too. And it's very important and very empowering work.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. I agree. And I've been in, you know, in contexts where it's all men in a coaching container or coaching group. And the amount of value that I, you know, observed men getting from those processes in short periods of time is just absolutely phenomenal, right? Like there's a lot to be gained just in, you know, mentorship and in, you know, in mutual growth amongst other like-minded people, right? So, and it doesn't need to be even like an exclusive men's program, right?
No.
Yeah, cool. All right. Myth busted.
Busted. All right, next one. Coaches are only interested in turning you into them. That's an interesting one. This is one I honestly have never heard or considered.
Yeah, there's two sides to this myth here that come to mind for me. One myth is that coaches serve other coaches. And like, you know, it's kind of this like
coaches coaching coaches.
Yeah, this like, you know, everybody who hires a coach just like eventually becomes a coach, and then, you know, it's just this like mass group of people ever growing and, you know, drawing people into the ranks. And first of all, that's not true. For people who, you know, kind of hang out in this industry, there's a lot of coaches coaching other coaches, but that's really more of a perception just from being in the industry, because you tend to be surrounded by other coaches. Your friends are coaches, et cetera, et cetera. If we were to look at like what coaches in the industry are actually helping people with, most of them are not teaching other people how to be coaches. They're helping other people get specific results. So like a business coach helps business owners improve their business, or like a job hunting coach, or money mindset coach, or a relationship coach. You know, the job of a relationship coach is to help people have better, more fulfilling relationships, not to turn their clients into relationship coaches as well.
Yeah.
Now, the kind of like part of the myth that might be a little bit true, in, you know, is everybody who was once a coaching client encouraged to become a coach? Well, no, maybe not encouraged to become a coach by, you know, directly. But when you work with a coach and you see, you know, the positive impact they have on other people's lives, what their life is like, you know, being an entrepreneur and, you know, being responsible for their own finances and schedule, you know, just being exposed to a coach who's thriving, it might be enough that people start to say, hey, I'd really like to have this lifestyle too. I'd really like to leave my traditional employment and have my own business helping other people. There's a lot of great things about being in the coaching industry. So of course, once people become involved in it as a client, chances are not half bad that they're going to want to get more involved, right? Like, which I think is how most people became coaches. Like I benefited from coaching and self-development and personal development for many years. And then one day I was like, I love this so much. I'm going to make it my career. I'm going to start a business, right?
Yeah.
That's a pretty natural, organic thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that was my experience too. Like
that was your
I
experience
in the back
too.
of my mind, even getting into my first sort of one-on-one coaching experience, I had it in my mind that I wanted to become a coach, but I just wasn't ready yet.
Yeah.
Right. So that process kind of opened me up to accepting that that could be an option.
Yeah. The the other part of this myth here, coaches are only interested in turning you into them, is um, the myth that coaches want to teach you how to act, and it's how they acted to get the result that they got, right? And that's also not really true. Like
No.
when I have a client that comes through and works with me as a client, or I more often obviously have students come through and learn to be coaches, I'm not teaching them to be miniature Ryan Monteses. There's a huge emphasis on, okay, here's frameworks that we know get great results. Now insert your personality, insert your life experience, insert your charisma, insert your wisdom and intuition, and go and serve people in a way that is uniquely your own, right?
Yeah.
And likewise with coaches helping clients, it's not like here's how to replicate me, your coach, and do exactly as I would do. It's what thoughts, behaviors, and attitudes can you have that are uniquely yours that are going to bring you to the results that you want.
Yeah, totally. And that's also to say that like just because you're coaching in a specific niche doesn't mean that you have it all figured out and that you're better or the best either.
I'm the best.
Yeah. I'm the best too. But
Yeah.
it's usually a passion, right? And a desire to empower the people that you're working with and recognizing that there's so much to be gained from the knowledge that you do have. But it's not necessarily saying I'm the best and you need to follow what I'm doing, because that's not necessarily the case either.
Yeah. Balderdash. Did you know that word?
Yeah.
Balderdash?
Yeah.
It's a
I've
real
played the
word.
game. Yeah.
No, not like the game.
Oh. Isn't Balderdash just like BS?
Yeah, it's like nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also a board game named Balderdash.
Balderdash. Yeah.
I'm glad
Yes.
we only have, by the way, totally separate thought from Balderdash. There's only 5 points on this list, which
Yeah.
I think is actually a good number. I was just thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Last week for a Disney episode, we had 2 lists, and each list had like between 6 and 8 items. That was way too many things
Yeah, it was a lot.
for one episode. From now on, new rule, no excuses,
Yeah.
5 points per
5 points.
list.
Well, it's because we got excited about both lists and then we mashed them up.
Yeah, why did we
I
two
don't know why we did
lists?
that.
Like, keep it simple, Sally.
Yeah. Well, because we wanted to talk about the mindset, but we wanted to talk about the customer experience. So anyway, this week we actually had 2 lists, but we decided we're going to just turn it into 2 episodes.
Yeah, well, one of them was written like on the back of a Chinese food restaurant or like menu or something like that. So we went with the one from Forbes instead. Long story. That'll be into like we should have like a behind the scenes. We should start a Patreon where people can like pay a few dollars a month and like see our little conversation before we start recording, and then our little like conversation after, because there's a lot of like interesting stuff.
There are some gems. I know. We should honestly just hit record.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, that can't go in the podcast.
No, it wouldn't be, but like, yeah, it would be for like VIP,
I like that idea.
Patreon subscribers, $1.81 per month. You get access to all this extra bonus content.
Because
right?
sometimes actually the gems are not in the podcast, but on the front and back end.
Yeah. And you guys would find out what I bought from Amazon recently and how many fireplaces I have in my house. If you're not part of the like,
the no excuses inner circle.
The no excuses. Yeah. Backstage.
ETS. Behind the scenes. Yeah.
Yeah. Inner circle backstage behind the scenes. Yeah. Watch out, everybody, for that coming down the pipe. Okay, let's do these last 2 points on the
number 4.
Yeah, number 4, a career coach who isn't an expert in my career field cannot help me. Well,
Balderdash.
balderdash, ladies and gentlemen and people. Um, yeah, my favorite metaphor for this is, if you have cancer, your doctor who's treating you doesn't need to be a cancer survivor to treat you effectively. Likewise, a coach, this is where we get to the difference between a coach and a consultant. A consultant is a person who has subject matter expertise, and push comes to shove, will be able to step into your shoes and do stuff for you on your behalf, or maybe that's even the service that they provide.
Yeah.
A coach doesn't necessarily have subject matter expertise in what you want to accomplish, but has expertise in coaching and general results orientation and general results achievement, right? Yeah. Very different things. Sometimes it's appropriate to hire a consultant. Sometimes it's appropriate to hire a coach, and just know that they do different things. So if we have the expectation that a coach needs to have subject matter expertise in what I'm trying to achieve, well, the person we're looking for actually is a consultant, not a coach. If we're looking for somebody to help us, with accountability or mindset or subconscious blocks and programming and et cetera, all the stuff that's within the wheelhouse of the coach, chances are they're not going to have specific subject matter expertise in whatever the result is that you're trying to achieve, nor do they need to.
Yeah. And when I think of this too, I think like the way you do one thing is the way you do everything, right? So if you're coming to me specifically for, relationship stuff or, your intimacy, or your like more intimate life, we're going to work on that specifically, but that is going to have a ripple effect into like your career, into your other relationships, into your health, right? And that's what coaching is, right? It doesn't, like, half the time I don't even really know what my clients do for a living, or I don't really know much about them because I don't need to. I just need to know like specifically what we're working on, what problem are we overcoming, and that's all.
Yeah. You and I both know Rudiger Nielsen from Denmark, and he's a hypnotist, but he works strictly with content-free hypnosis. So he'll get on calls with his clients and literally say, "Don't tell me anything about your problem," and go straight into hypnotic processes, because he knows that client's unconscious mind, subconscious mind, has the power to resolve whatever needs to be resolved, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of gets into the presuppositions of NLP, and we all have the resourcefulness built in to achieve whatever we want, et cetera, et cetera. But this myth is busted. A career coach, the author of this very good article, whose name is Ashley Stahl, I don't know why she's singling out career coaches, because this point here where she wrote, a career coach who isn't an expert in my career field can't help me, the myth could just as easily be a coach who isn't an expert in the result that I'm trying to achieve can't help me. That's another myth, more general, more broad than this one. But hey, 100 points. 100
like points, if you're a good coach, you have the tools to get people to achieve what they want to achieve, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had conversations before around like it's important to niche yourself from a marketing perspective. But if you're a good coach, you technically should be able to coach people through anything.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean? Precisely. Yeah. Just like if you're a mechanic who specializes in Alfa Romeos, right? Doesn't mean you can't change the oil on a Ford, right?
Exactly.
But if you got a cute little shop, in the mountains, and you exclusively want to work on Alfa Romeos, that's
fine too.
Idea, right?
And that's the thing, right? Like you can start niching yourself when you're starting out as a way to just like attract business. But then the thing is people are going to start coming to you for other things.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like you're not married to your niche necessarily. You just need to use that for the first little bit to really make kind of like a name for yourself, set your foundation up. And then people are going to start referring you for other things because they just know that you're good at what you do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Enough of that one.
Yeah. Enough of that one. Last one on the list. Last one on the list. Coaches get rich. This one's going to be controversial, everyone.
Ooh, is it ever?
Last one on the list.
That one word in there.
Well, there's a couple of trigger words in there. Anyways, coaches get rich off of lazy people who would rather pay a stranger for a kick in the pants than take any action on their own. That's an interesting one. It's definitely a myth.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a myth. Because here's the reason. Here's the simple reason. A good coach who works in integrity won't take on clients like that, who don't actually want to do any work and just want somebody else to take accountability for their results. Those people, God bless them, are not ideal coaching clients and probably are not going to get good results anyways.
Yeah.
Coaching is very much, as Alana mentioned earlier, and we've mentioned many times in other episodes, it's a do with process, never a do for process or a do to process. So an ideal coaching client to work with an ideal coach is somebody who's ready to step up, do work, accept guidance, accept coaching, and get real results. The type of person who, as the author of this article describes, as lazy and would rather pay a stranger for a kick in the pants than to take action on their own, they're not going to get results via coaching anyways. And coaches know this, good coaches know this, and they're not going to work with people who are just looking for an easy shortcut or a way, out of accountability. This is definitely a myth.
Yeah, like my favorite metaphor from the HypnoThoughts conference this summer was, I'm the DJ, you're the dancer, right? So I keep spinning the tracks if you keep dancing, and vice versa, right? That's a coaching relationship. You have to take responsibility for your results.
Yeah.
I can help you get there. I can give you homework. We can have lots of conversations. We can do a bunch of therapeutic processes, but unless you take full responsibility for your results, like, it's on you at the end of the day.
Yeah. Cool. Busted. Any bonus ones here? No. Okay, cool.
No bonus.
Those are the 5 myths from Ashley Stahl. Busting the top. She says they're the top 5 myths about the coaching industry. Yeah, maybe they are. Who knows?
Maybe.
I don't know. I've definitely heard all of these personally before. Yeah, cool. All right. That's it. Busted.
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 So what do you have going on these days?
There is I'm doing a 3-day hypnosis intensive training for people that want to be certified in hypnosis. It's January 27 and 29. So by the time by the time you hear this, listeners, there might be a day or two left. If you want to shoehorn yourself into that course, there's a fun expression, which just means get in last minute. Otherwise, I've got a new program coming out soon. The announcement's going to go out soon. Hypnosis Business Builder. My elite coach is taking applications right now, which is my 12-week NLP training and mentorship program. We got the, what do you call it, podcast, which you're listening to right now.
And maybe the exclusive behind the scenes, maybe that's coming.
Yeah, maybe Patreon or whatever. I don't know what the big thing for behind the scenes podcast content is.
Is it Twitch or no?
No, not Twitch. Is something else. That's streaming.
That's like gaming or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Anyways, that's what I got going on. Check out my Instagram. My Instagram's on fire lately. In a good fire.
Yeah. Ryan's reels are just going crazy.
Going bananas. With these reels. They're good though. I'm so proud of them.
They are good.
Watch my reels on Instagram,
really
everybody.
Yeah, really good reels.
Yeah. What do you got going on? What's up?
What's up with me? I'm taking on one-on-one clients for my program called Embrace, which is a 6-week program to help you have a more confident and fulfilling sex life, free from dysfunction, guilt, and shame.
Cool.
And I've got my Cracked Open podcast where you can go and listen to hypnotic meditations. And I've got another HypnoFlow class coming up on February 5th. If you're in the Toronto area, sign up for my HypnoFlow class. The first one was a smashing success, I should say.
Yeah.
And the more demand that I get, the more I can keep renting these spaces and doing these classes. So you can find out more information about that on my Instagram at Alana Banks Coaching, or you can go to my website, alanabanks.com, for more info.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely check out Alana's if you're in the Toronto area or you want to be. Check out Alana's HypnoFlow class. did get a chance to see some of the participants and hear some of the feedback from the last one, and it was very, 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 very positive. So check it out. Looks like a good time.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah. All right.
All
I guess
right, well, that's it.
that's it for today. Party on.
Talk to you next time.